Hi, this is Diana Saunders of Xgensoft. Welcome to our program. The first thing that you'll need to do is to set up some user information so that the program will have it to organize its forms. So we will come into the Global User Preferences. Please note you have two colors in Rental Manager. You have green screens, you have blue screens. The blue screens are for entering new information. The green screens are for editing and finding information already listed in the program. So on to the Global User Preferences. This is the screen where you have all your basic company information. So the display screen is the first one. Very simple. You put in your company name, the address information, phone numbers, website, email, and there's a place for your logo. This is all of the information that you will want to show on your orders, your invoices, and any other forms that go out to your customers. To highlight your logo path and bring it into the program, you simply click on the name. It opens the directory in your computer. You scroll through, find the file with your graphic that you're going to use for your logo. Click on it, come back and close this. The screen will look a little different because you've chosen the one you want. I'll close it here. And once it shows here in this form at this point, it will automatically print on in the upper left hand corner of any of your company forms. Moving on, you're going to look at the default screen. Most of these are already set up for you in the way that you would want to have them. The ones I would leave them the way they are unless you have a definite reason for not using these options that you've discussed with us ahead of time. The one place that you might want to change would be right here. Use special user order numbers and invoice numbers starting at. So if you've been using QuickBooks or another program with order and invoice numbers, and you want to start where that has left off so that your numbers match, then you would simply put the next order number here and the next invoice number here. Check these boxes and the program will use the numbers it finds here as its first order and invoice numbers. Coming down to the bottom of the screen, the default order date, when you open up the order form, it has 3 dates that you have to fill in. The date of the order, that you're actually creating the order, the date that the order is being picked up or that you are delivering it, the taken date of the order, and the scheduled return date of the order. So you can very safely leave the current date already as a default because it's nice to have that just show up for you. Usually you will leave the taken date and the return date as none because they're going to change with every order. The exception that I can think of at the moment would be for the paintball rental places, because that paintball equipment is usually being rented on the date that the order is being created, and it's coming back on that date as well because it's just going out for the morning or the afternoon. So in that case, you would, instead of having it as none, you can set the taken date and the return date as the current date, and all of those dates will show up for you on the order screen without you having to do anything. The default for the actual return date, leave that as none. this little box and this part of the form right here are for the paintballer rental places, and all you have to do here is identify the kind of rental business that you have, because in some of the forms different things show up depending on what you've checked here. Moving over to the reporting, we have, these are the forms that we have in the program, not the actual reports that you will pull from all of the information that you have from your orders and invoices, but the actual forms that you will create and print for your customer or your staff. So we have a quotation, an order sheet, an invoice, sales invoice, packing slip, and a return slip or sheet. And you may call them whatever you like. So for example, the order form, most people call some kind of a rental contract. To change these names, you simply delete them and type in what you would like to have there. Most people want to have the report heading visible. The goods taken and return label, you can put in what you would like it to say on your form. And then we have a whole list of generic forms that you can use, and there's a heading for each one that describes for you what special feature that form has. In order to see what they're like, just choose a different one for each of these forms, create a small order, and then print out each of the forms or view them in the viewfinder and have a look at them, and you'll quickly decide which ones you'd like to use. They can all be different. You can have a different form from the default for each one of these depending on your needs. Like quite often the invoice won't be the same form as your your rental contract. Your contract and your quotation might be the same, except for the message that you have on it. The packing slip is usually a very straightforward form, and it automatically does not print the prices on it, and neither does the return sheet. So these are all under your control, and so is this. What you might want to do, if timing is very important to you and you have a specific time in your business when you expect customers to pick up orders and return them, then if you click this box, pre-populate default times into orders, and then put those times in here, the taken time and the return time, for example 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., then they will automatically show up on your screen and be printed on your form unless you change them on the screen. Now, you may have messages that go with these reports. So the bottom of each one of these of the forms, quote, order, invoice, etc., right in the bottom left-hand corner, there is a place for a short disclaimer message that fits in beside the order totals. You may use any font size that you wish. People wanting to get lots in use smaller font sizes. People who want to make sure their customers can read the print would probably use slightly larger ones. And for example, on your rental contract, which comes from your order form, you would probably have a short disclaimer message there that lets your customer know that you have a full terms and conditions sheet, and when they sign the front of this order for you, you can put in a signature and a date that they are agreeing to your whole terms and conditions sheet. If you want Rental Manager to always print that terms and conditions sheet for you as the last page of every order, then you use this bottom message form here. It opens to an 8.5 by 11 page. The fastest way to get it done probably is to do it in Word and then just copy and paste it right into this part of your form, and it will accommodate, as I said, an 8.5 by 11 page for you, and we'll print that as a last page of your order. That's all that you need to do to set this part of your form up. The financial tab pertains to your tax codes that you will be using in your state or province. And in a separate little tutorial, we have looked at that and shown you how to create your own tax codes and how to bring them into this form. So you would just, I'm going to change this back to the one that we use here, the HST. And just, if you're only using one tax field, make sure that you pull the no or none tax code that you've created in your sales tax list into the tax fields you're not using, so the program knows that it is not looking for any tax fields here. Depending on the number of sales taxes you have, the number here automatically applies. So if you have one sales tax code, it will be 1. If I pulled something else in here, I'll just do this to show you. Then you're going to change this to 2. And the sales tax code over here just automatically changes. You don't need to adjust it here. I'm going to take this off because I don't want it in there. I'm going to just go back, find my none, take this off. See, and that's changed. If you have a company tax number, if you're in most of the provinces in Canada and some of the states, you will have a company tax number that the government requires you to show or to have printed on your rental contract and your invoice. That number goes here. Tick this off so that it makes that tax label visible. It prints it, in other words, on the bottom of your contract or your invoice. If you wish to use the damage waiver calculations in the program, just enter the damage waiver from an inventory code, then check this, and if you have a set damage waiver amount, percentage, then put the percentage in here. This refers to QuickBooks, and you can just leave that as a default. That's all you need on the screen, and these other fields are not mandatory for the running of the program and will be dealt with in other tutorials. So from here we would just close the door once you're finished with that, and you're ready to set up your inventory and a few customers and then start creating orders.